guy like Millie.
Look at how fat and disgusting this person is. Look at how fat, ugly, and disgusting his face is.
Some of the people?
What a fat, ugly, disgusting human being. Look at it. Look at how his face carries the fat. Look at how this disgusting fatty has face fat hanging off of his fucking face.
I looked at him, I remember.
And look at that fake laugh.
On my side. And then what
the fuck is that?
Even
sorry
hated the concept
for the language, but seriously,
of,
there are
going to war with everybody. Let's kill
no
everybody.
bigger fakers than this asshole and this fat ugly pig.
And
this ridiculous petri dish creature.
Think of it. They destroyed
Paul Ryan
clone,
clone,
all of that information
and then this fat ass who I hate.
And the
All right, welcome to my channel. Thank you for all tuning in. And I'm a small channel now, so hopefully over the next few videos that I upload and react to, I can get some engagement. Nick Fuentes, as we all know, is an extremely controversial and often polarizing figure. And I decided to, react to this video because even though my last video I did that got some decent engagement, a lot of the groypers in the comment section were just so shallow-minded. Nick was right. Nick was right. Nick was right. Nick was right. You're a hater. I got called a, what did somebody call me? Somebody called me a, what's the term you use to describe a person who is an Israel shield? Somebody called me a Zionist. I'm so sorry. I had a brain fart. Somebody in the comment section actually called me a Zionist because I was criticizing Nick Fuentes on his homosexual innuendo, which I still do believe. He jokes around about homosexuality too much to be a Christian and to be straight. I also critiqued him on his foul language and to keep calling yourself a Christian. When you are working on your Christian walk, certain things you will be convicted to stop doing certain things. And as a Christian myself, that is something that I am trying to work on. And I try not to use profanity. I highly doubt I'll use any profanity in this video. And I'm not going to edit it out if I do. But I am working on that. And also his obsession with racial idolatry. Those are my three primary critiques of Nick Fuentes. And in this video, you will hear more examples of racial idolatry from Nick when it comes to JD Vance's wife. So I'm going to let some clips play. I'm going to react to them. And like I said before, I agree with him more than I don't. I'm a person that knows how to chew the meat and spit out the bones. But I'm not a YouTuber or content creator that's just going to follow Nick Fuentes because he's hot right now and agree with everything he says and hump his leg like the groypers do. The groypers, not all of you, but a lot of you seem to be very, very shallow-minded and not very intellectually sophisticated because you should never agree with everything a person says, no matter how smart you may think they are, because you're more of a sycophant than an actual thinker, and these are real legitimate points. Now, if he's 100% right all the time, then I'm going to agree with him 100% of the time because the truth is undefeated. Right? Truth cannot be stopped. But without further ado, I'm not going to make this video too long, but I got to play a few clips and react to them just so you can understand where I'm coming from. And I do agree with Nick Fuentes that JD Vance is not going to be some super America First guy. And I posed the question, if not JD Vance, then who? And that's a real legitimate question. But without further ado, let me get into some of the clips that I'm talking about that made me want to make this video.
You get a better look. This is Gavin Newsom's family. Okay? Now, this is who the Republicans want you to think is literally the devil. Okay, this guy is Satan. This guy is evil. This guy is woke. He is a left-wing socialist Muslim. He's a radical Muslim socialist like Barack Obama. But, right off the bat, we could just make some observations. He's white. He's tall. He's handsome. His wife is also white. She's tall. She's good looking. His children, 4 of them, are beautiful and they're all white. with blue eyes and blonde hair, and they're in California. Or maybe this is Hawaii? I don't know. But they're in a beautiful state, our beautiful land. Their beautiful blood and our beautiful land in America. If only there was somebody to combine those things. Their beautiful genetics, their genes. Weren't Republicans just talking about that? Beautiful genes. Look at these beautiful genes. Look at these beautiful genes on display. And look at our beautiful land. And look at the beautiful landscape, our beautiful soil. All for us. This beautiful virgin soil separated from the world by two oceans that we control. And those beautiful genes that conquered and tamed it. It's really a sight to behold. This is our enemy, they say.
Okay, so that's a prime example of what I'm talking about. Let me just inject real quick. He's obsessed with race. That's one of my main critiques about him because of his racial idolatry. And if you are a white male and you like the fact that Nick Fuentes is race obsessed and he's always talking about protecting whites and white this and white that, if you love Nick Fuentes' racial idolatry and his white nationalist sentiments, that's your right. You can support that all you want, but stop trying to call yourself a Christian and you speak that way and you're that, obsessed with race. You've made your skin your God. You've made race an idol, and that is not compatible with Christianity. I stand by my critique about Nick Fuentes when it comes to that. Now, when it comes to him praising Gavin Newsom for being white and also talking about how beautiful his wife is, I have no problem with a grown man complimenting the beauty of another man's wife. That's fine. She is a very attractive woman, and they have 4 beautiful kids. However, he mentioned Gavin Newsom being a white male, and he mentioned Gavin Newsom's wife and kids being white. And he is always critiquing JD Vance's wife for being Indian and not white. And he even used the term called Pajit to describe her in a later clip that I'll play. And that's actually considered a racial epithet. And that just doesn't sound very Christian to me. So let me continue.
Now, here's the other image. This is our fearless leader, the entity known as JD Vance. The entity known as JD Hamill, since the last operating system update, is now JD Vance. This is his family. Now, let's make some observations here. So this is our fearless leader, the entity known as JD Vance. He's fat. Okay, he's visibly, we'll just zoom in here just so you could get a better look. He's visibly obese and very ugly. He's got a fat face, no jawline, no chin, and he's quite ugly. He had to grow a beard because his face was so ugly. The Ozempic didn't even help. Let's make some other observations. His wife and kids are not white, okay? A lot of people debate whether I'm white. People say, your last name's Fuentes, are you white? Well, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I know this is definitely not white, okay? Brown skin, black hair, Hindic phenotype. This is an Indian woman, as a matter of fact. She is from the subcontinent of India. Her parents are Indian. They're actually from India. She's first generation. The kids, like the wife, are also visibly Indian, okay? They're even dressed like Indians. They don't just look like it genetically. Their clothes are also Indian, too. They've got the fine black hair going on, or I guess that's more like a thick black hair. They have a brown complexion, brown eyes. The other one does as well over here. And they're even wearing these kind of funky clothes. I don't know, is that a dress? I don't know if this is some kind of transgender bathroom situation. Is that a dress? I guess it's more of just like a tunic. I don't know what you call that. I'm not from India, but they've got these sort of long shirt. And if you look at the background, they're actually in India. Okay, that is not America. They're in India itself. Okay, that is one of the wonders of the world. That is actually a location inside of India. So here on the left, you have Gavin Newsom, the woke socialist, Muslim, Democrat, race communist. He's the third worldist race communist. And then here you have, we are going to kill you, based, esoteric Hitlerist. I think he's secretly following Curtis Yarvin. JD Vance with his Indian wife and 3 Indian children, one of whose name is Vivek. The child's name is Vivek.
Okay, so that's the end of that clip that I'm going to play. It's like maybe a little bit longer than, I'm sorry, it's about a minute longer, but he ain't really saying a whole lot more than he just said. He's continuously attacking JD Vance for being fat, saying he has no jawline. And I will admit the obvious truth. Gavin Newsom does look more masculine. JD Vance does kind of have a soft look about him. Usha Vance, in my opinion, just being an honest person. She's not, a bombshell at all. She ain't got nothing on Gavin Newsom's wife. Usha Vance, in my opinion, looks a good bit older than 30. I think she's 39 years old, and she looks older. She just isn't a very attractive woman. She's not ugly, but she's extremely mediocre. She's just an average woman. However, JD Vance's kids, despite them being mixed, JD Vance still has white European blood. And when you look at JD Vance's children, they're more white than they are Indian. And she's a lighter skinned Indian. So despite the fact that they're mixed with Indian, the white blood from JD Vance made them lighter to the point where if all 3 of his kids, or even whatever combination of his kids, breed with a white person, if his white son, daughter, whatever, if they start having kids when they get older with white people, their offspring will be white, because JD Vance's white DNA diluted Usha Vance's Indian DNA. And it just, they say it always takes 2 generations to erase a bloodline. So you look at a black woman like, take a mixed person like Patrick Mahomes, right? Everybody knows who Patrick Mahomes is. NFL quarterback, Kansas City Chiefs, great football player, Hall of Fame quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is mixed, but his dad is black, right? Patrick Mahomes' wife is a white girl, white woman. They have white kids because Patrick Mahomes is mixed with black and white. So he's a lighter version of a black man. And when he put his mixed genes inside of the genes of a white woman, it created white children. So JD Vance's white bloodline is not destroyed, not by a long shot, if his kids breed with a white person. So Nick Fuentes' obsession with race is just so glaring and obvious. It's really a moot point. Like, you're praising Gavin Newsom for being white, but the bigger picture, see, he's so race obsessed that he's not focused on the bigger picture. The bigger picture is we can't afford to have a radical communist, flaming liberal like Gavin Newsom run the country starting in 2029. We can't let Gavin Newsom take the White House in 2028. Okay. I just came from California a few months ago, and trust me, we don't want Gavin Newsom running the United States of America the way he ran California. California is a very beautiful state, but they have ran that state into the ground because of their radical, just communistic, insane policies. This is where a lot of the degeneracy started. When you look at, the adult entertainment industry, XXX rated hardcore pornography, the city of San Francisco, where they have LGBT pride parades, where they have their genitals exposed and, twerk in front of kids at drag queen storytime events and all kind of just filthy, degenerate, behavior that is permitted. Like, it's a lot of filth that has come from California, and the liberals, the leftist government, the governor, the, mayors of some of these cities, they are the ones that set the standard and allowed it to perpetuate. Okay. Not to mention Hollywood, right? It's just a lot of insane policies that came from California. The whole locking people up according to the gender they identify with. There was a trans woman locked up at a California prison, and the trans woman got locked up with biological women, and the trans woman was impregnating biological women in the prison because it was still a man with a dress on. So we all know how California is. Like I said, it's a beautiful state, great history there. If it was its own country to have one of the biggest economies in the world, it'd be one of the 10 biggest countries in the world by GDP. Wonderful state outside of the policies. People are literally defecating in San Francisco so bad on the streets that they actually created an app so you could send in a request to come clean the poop up with the San Francisco Department of Public Works. They're averaging 36,000 fecal complaints per year. Per year. That's 3,000 fecal incidents per month. And we want to praise Gavin Newsom? Come on, Nick. Do better, bruh.
When Obama left office, Vance wrote an article in the New York Times called Barack Obama and Me, where he said the only reason conservatives hate Obama is because they're racist and they're jealous of how a black man is smarter than them. Vance is married to a first-generation Indian immigrant, and their kids have Indian names. His son is named Vivek, after his Yale Law School fellow student, Vivek Ramaswamy. They go to India dressed like Slumdog Millionaire for a private visit. His wife is connected to the Indian political parties. And Vance, of course, is a creature, as we discussed on Friday, a protege of Peter Thiel, a gay CIA contractor. This is MAGA. When you think about Vance, his ascendancy is so conspicuous. What do I mean by that? I mean that from the very beginning, this guy was in places that he should have never been in. You have to go all the way back. He was a Marine writing press releases about the war in Iraq. Everybody thinks he was in combat. No, he was like a journalist over there. Then he goes to Yale Law School. At Yale Law School, he meets Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel becomes his patron. Peter Thiel arranges for JD Vance to get his first job out in Silicon Valley. Vance had no experience in tech. He went to law school. But Peter Thiel hooked him up, and the guy that hired Vance has since said this in an interview. I gave him a job because of Thiel. I was doing Thiel a favor. Vance was writing for David Frum at the time, a Jewish neocon speechwriter for George W. Bush, who was instrumental in pushing us into the war in Iraq. Frum and Peter Thiel believed in Vance because Vance had this story about being raised by his Meemon, being from Appalachia and being a white working class American. They were grooming him to be the president in like 2012, 2013. Peter Thiel got him a job at his venture capital firm when Vance was going on his book tour, pushing Hillbilly Elegy to all of America's elites, and when he got his Netflix deal. Peter Thiel funded JD Vance's venture capital firm when he went and got his own firm a couple of years later. And then JD Vance ran into a problem. Vance was being groomed by Frum and Peter Thiel to be a very different kind of Republican than Donald Trump. That was the big surprise. Vance was being groomed to be president of the United States as a spokesman of the white working class, as a more moderate, techno-libertarian Republican, and he was very anti-Trump. Trump became way more popular than anyone anticipated, won the election, and JD Vance was effectively sidelined. His career was killed by this because Vance took out this big risk to be anti-Trump. Suddenly Trump becomes president. Now Vance is on the outs. So Vance convenes a meeting in January 2017 after Trump is inaugurated. David Frum is in attendance. Maybe Peter Thiel was as well. We don't know the full list. But they basically plot out how is he going to come back from this and become the president. In 2022, shortly after moving back to Ohio, JD Vance launches a bid for the Ohio Senate. He needs Trump's endorsement. Peter Thiel arranges a meeting at Mar-a-Lago. And Thiel, Vance, and Trump meet. Thiel calls in a favor and gets one of his buddies to make a personal appeal to Trump. A couple weeks later, Trump endorses Vance. Vance wins the primary. Vance gets the Senate seat. So Vance goes from being a never Trumper in 2018, even being critical of Trump in 2020, to a U.S. senator with Trump's endorsement in 2022. Peter Thiel put $15 million into Vance's Senate run. Then, Vance is seated in the U.S. Senate in 2023. In 2024, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and Tucker Carlson call Trump and say Vance needs to be your vice president, and Trump agrees. Vance goes from never Trump in 2018 to a U.S. senator having never held elected office in 2022 to in 2024 being tapped to be Trump's vice president, all thanks to Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and Tucker Carlson.
Okay, so he said a lot in that clip, and I'm going to start wrapping the video up after this clip. It's already at 20-something minutes long, but I just had to react to this the proper way. I did not know who Peter Thiel was until Nick Fuentes brought that part out. And this is where Nick Fuentes really shines. I'll give him credit. He's well read and he knows how to articulate, you know, what he reads. The billionaire who fueled JD Vance's rapid rise to the Trump VP spot. Peter Thiel, he is a openly gay man. He's in a relationship with another man. That's public knowledge. I refuse to call him and his dude another husband because that's against God. God didn't create gay marriage, so I don't really call it gay marriage. I just say this is partner. But he's in a relationship with a gay man, and he's gay himself, obviously, Peter Thiel. And as a America First person, as a Christian, you have to ask yourself, is this a good look for the JD Vance campaign that you're campaign to become a senator? Because he started off as a U.S. senator from Ohio, and Peter Thiel dumped $15 million into his campaign, which is true. That is an accurate, very, very provable, you know, assertion made by Nick Fuentes. Is actually very true. And Peter Thiel is not a Jew, but he is a person that's, you know, of course, connected to a lot of Jewish people. He's a tech bro. He is a co-founder of PayPal, and he's also very, very, very involved with this company called Palantir. And there's been a lot of controversy about Palantir. I won't get into what they do on this video, but they do have contracts with the federal government, so that should tell you kind of what they're all about. So that's his lover, his partner. I don't know his name. I haven't looked too much into him, but yeah. The whole gist of what Nick is talking about is, you know, this guy is not going to be an America First president. If he was to make it as the nominee in 2028 and eventually win the presidency, he's going to disappoint us just like Trump. Nick Fuentes, of course, mentioned his Indian wife and, you know, all the things that he just doesn't like about JD Vance. Like I said, the immutable characteristics and the fact that he's, you know, overweight. He's not obese. I wouldn't call JD Vance obese, but he is a little bit heavy, and he's not a person that clearly hits the gym. But that's irrelevant. I'm more concerned about his policies. I'm more concerned about his backbone. I'm more concerned about his heart. Does he have a heart for America and the common man? And they may have groomed JD Vance. You know, he came out with the book Hillbilly Elegy. You know, he went to Yale. So a lot of our presidents have come from Yale. And I do agree 100% that JD Vance is not here by accident. That book he wrote, I haven't read it, don't really desire to read it, but it's got kind of a catchy title, so it can appeal to a certain demographic, you know, white working class men.
The JD Vance operation is in full swing, man. Think about it. Andrew Tate and Bronze Age pervert and all these people, for years, all they talk about is going to the gym, being a vitalist, fighting the Matrix, India smells bad, all this kind of shit. And now they're all in favor of a fat race mixer who's married to a Jeet who named his son Vivek, who was mentored by a Jewish neocon and a gay fed, Peter Thiel, and the guy's in bed with fucking Israel.
And there's that good old racial idolatry that he just can't let go. He said that JD Vance was married to a Jeet, which is short for Pajit, and that's definitely a slap at JD Vance for not marrying a white woman. Like I said, I'm not concerned about who JD Vance sticks his penis in. I'm not concerned about what his wife looks like. At least he's married to a woman. Okay, in today's America, you got to applaud men that still want to marry women the way all these men want to walk around with dresses on and kiss other men in the mouth. I'm very old fashioned. I'm a Southerner, and I'm proud of my masculine, heterosexual, Christian energy, and I won't give it up for nothing. But irrespective of who JD Vance is married to, there are some real concerns, like I said. But Nick Fuentes' obsession with who he's married to and who he sleeps with is a little bit disturbing and off-putting.
And that's your guy? And I'm the controlled opposition, really? Your guy is literally a fat gay race trader who married a Jeet, who works for a gay Fed, a Fed informant, a CIA contractor, mentored by a Jewish neocon, and the dude's in bed with Israel. And he wears eyeliner. So Andrew Tate said the Groypers need to go to the gym. Dude, JD Vance needs to go to the gym. He's fat and it's disgusting. People are talking about Groypers. Groypers are brown. Dude, JD Vance's kids are brown. His kids. His wife is brown. She's a Jeet. People say Nick Fuentes is a gay Fed. Dude, JD Vance's mentor is a literal homosexual Fed. Like, how much more clear cut does it get? Peter Thiel's an openly gay man who informed to the FBI and works for the CIA. Everything they accuse me of, they are guilty of. It's crazy. It's actually crazy.
All right, so that's the end of my Nick Fuentes clips for this video. I know this video is almost 30 minutes long. I didn't mean to make it this long, but I just had a lot to say. And once again, thank y'all for watching, for those of you that are watching the video through this entirety. But Nick Fuentes, like I said, when he's right, he's right. When he's wrong, he's wrong. And I think that he is, kind of letting his racial idolatry get the best of him. When it comes to JD Vance, there's plenty to critique JD Vance on outside of who he's married to. Okay. Yes, Peter Thiel is a gay tech bro, and he funded JD Vance's Senate campaign. Yes, JD Vance came out of nowhere. Yes, JD Vance is most likely not going to be America first, like the movement that we have seen kind of implode under Trump. There's a lot of things that Trump is doing that's not America first right now. He's not deporting enough illegal immigrants to even halfway reverse the amount that came in under Biden, and he's not going to, right? He bombed Iran, which is not America first, right? Elon Musk supports more H-1B visas, which directly competes with Americans for jobs in the tech world in different industries. Right? Had a lot of people in uproar about that. We can go on and on and on about some of the failures of the Trump administration to honor the America First platform. And JD Vance is not a multi-billionaire like Donald Trump. So he's going to be bought and paid for. And my glaring question to wrap this video up, if not JD Vance, then who? Who is going to grab the reins? Who is going to rise up? Who is going to challenge JD Vance for the 2028 nomination? And there's reports that Trump's health is declining. So what if we have a situation where JD Vance gets put in to take over before Trump can finish his last term? I mean, we still got 3 years to go before 2028 even gets here. Over 3 years before the 2028 election gets here. And then, of course, even if the Democrats were to win in 2028, Trump would remain in power until January 2029. But I hope and pray that we can get it together and Trump can have a at least moderately successful second term, so that way Republicans will be in a good position to win in 2028. Because right now the Democrats are just giving us, softballs at like 3 miles per hour. They're like literally pitching the most easiest underhanded softballs right in our face and right down the middle of the plate. And if we screw this opportunity up, we deserve to lose in 2028. So that's the end of my video. I appreciate y'all watching once again. Make sure y'all hit the like and subscribe. I hope that I gave you guys a very, very, in-depth review of Nick Fuentes' opinions about JD Vance and his wife. I think he should leave his wife out of it. She has nothing to do with JD Vance's, rise to power. She has nothing to do with who funds JD Vance's, political campaigns. And she has nothing to do with who JD Vance is as a man. Now, she does have a lot to do with his children, of course. And she has a lot to do with, what happens between, him, his wife, and his kids behind closed doors, because she's the other half. She's his wife. But JD Vance being fat, JD Vance being married to a Jeet, JD Vance being a race trader, that's totally irrelevant to who JD Vance is at the core of who he is, and what a JD Vance presidential campaign would look like. Okay, I'm more concerned about, can we trust him? Right? Is he going to be America first? Is he going to let the movement die? Is he going to get us into another war? There's so many things that you got to ask yourself that are irrelevant to JD Vance's fat body and non-white wife. Y'all like, y'all share, y'all subscribe.